This video is on presentation of data. We're going to first quickly look at frequency histograms, and we're just going to go straight into the example of plotting a histogram for the following data. Now, because we have grouped frequencies here, it means we're going to be having a histogram, which is where our columns do touch. We don't have spaces between our columns because it's got to include everything between 10 and 20, 20 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and 50. So the first one we have between 10 and 20, we have 16. So I've drawn my axis here and I just want a frequency of 16. The frequency is the y-axis and x is the x-axis, and I've got 16. So I've got to kind of guesstimate as to where it will be, which will probably be around there with 16. And we just draw a nice little column between 10 and 20 to represent the 16. Between 20 and 30 we had 10, so I just go to a 10 frequency. Between 20 and 30, 30 and 40 we had 18, and then between 40 and 50 we had 14. And that's nice and easy with a histogram. Now let's go on to box plots. So to draw a box plot you need 5 pieces of information: the minimum, quartile 1, median, quartile 3 and maximum. So with a box plot, I've just got a couple of images here of what they look like. So we always have to have a scale at the bottom with our values. Now with a box plot, really a big thing to understand and remember here is that each part of a box plot represents 25% of the data. So this first whisker here, between the minimum and quartile 1 is 25%. Between quartile 1 and the median is 25%. The median and quartile 3 is 25%. And between quartile 3 and the max represents 25%. So this example construct a box plot for the following data. I've got it there already in order for us, and I've drawn my beautiful little number line for my scale. First thing we need to do is find our 5-number summary, which means I need to work out my minimum, the quartile 1, median, quartile 3 and max. Now that can be done by hand, or I could just put the data into my calculator. Exactly the process we did to find the mean, median in the previous videos. You just go to that same spot to get your 5-number summary, and you'll see it's nicely in order there for you in the statistics. But if we're to do it by hand, which we quickly can do here just as a reminder, and the minimum is our smallest number, which is just 3, and our max is our largest number, which is 20. Our median is our middle value. So our middle value is between these two numbers here, and between 7 and 9, which means it will be 8. Now for our quartile 1, because our median is between these two numbers, our quartile 1 is the middle of the bottom half of the data. So we look at all the numbers below the median, which is here, and we look for the middle number there, which is 7. And the same for the upper quartile, we look at all the numbers above the median, which in this case is 9, 9, 11, 15 and 20, and the middle number there is 11. Now we've got our 5-number summary, we can draw our box plot. Easiest way I find is to, first of all, just put a line at where each of those values are. So we've got minimum is at 3, quartile 1 is at 7, the median is at 8, quartile 3 is at 11, and my maximum's at 20. Okay, then between the first slide and the next one, we're going to draw a line, and the same from the last one to there, and then the last lines we draw create our box, and that's our box plot. Now make sure your line here, you do not draw your line going through the middle of the box. That would be marked incorrect. And that's how we create a box plot. Now we're going to go on to cumulative frequency and straight into an example. This is quite a big example. But the number of visitors to Hales Castle was noted on 200 separate days of the year. We've got the table there. Explain how you can tell that there were fewer than 100 visitors on 54 of the days. So our frequency is how many days? So 16 days had between 0 and 50, 38 days we had between 50 and 100. Now, visitors. Now, how can we tell there were fewer than 100 visitors on 54 days? Because 16 plus 38 here is 54, which means there are 54 visitors in these two here. Now it says how we can tell there were fewer than 100 visitors. The way we can tell there were fewer than 100 visitors is because the 100 is not included in this second grouped frequency here. The 100 is actually included in the third one, which means the 54 has to be less than 100 days. So we can put that into some sort of words. I'm just going to write it in here. And we'll put something like, because the class interval 50 to 100 does not include 100. Therefore, the 16 plus 38, which equals 54, is for less than 100 visitors. Right, part B, complete the table. For cumulative frequency, all we do is add the number before it. So 16 was first, we added the 38. If we look at the table, here we added the 38 to get 54. Now we're going to add 50 on, so 54 plus 50, because that's our next number, would give us 104. Then we're going to add 36 to that, which gives us 140. So we just add every number from the table, and we accumulate all the numbers together until we should end up with 200, which we were told in the question there was 200 days. So you just keep on adding all the numbers from the table until you get to the end. Draw a cumulative frequency curve for this data. So I've already done this below. Ta-da! So when you're doing this, we've got our number of visitors, our boundaries, so from less than 50, less than 100, etc., all the way up to 400. So we need to make sure your x-axis goes up to your maximum number of visitors, which in our case was 400. And the axes are a bit weird scalar-wise, but that's okay. And we know we have a total of 200 days, so our frequency needs to go up to 200. From there, we just plot each of the things. So n is less than 50 was 16. So at 50, you see there's a little dot there. I've just put a circle around it. That's at 16. Less than 100, so at 100, we would put 54, which is that one there. For less than 150, we had 104. So at 150, we have it at 100, and so on. You just plot those points, and then you join all your dots, and you should get this nice, beautiful red curve here. Next, we're going to use your curve to find an estimate for the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile. So the median we know is middle. So if we have 200 people in total, that means our median is going to be at 100. Because cumulative frequency is an estimate, we can just go straight to the middle, which is 100. So this is this green line here that they've drawn across. We look at where it joins our curve, read down to the bottom, and we will get an answer there. So I'm going to say here that our median is approximately 142. All right. Your graph will be slightly different. You may be slightly different in your answer based on your curve, and that is okay. Now, our quartile one is 25% of the way through the data for the lower quartile. So if our median is at 50, it's going to be half of, if our median is at 100, it's going to be half of 100, which is at 50. So that's this green line here, and where to touch that graph, read down, and we're going to say that quartile one is about 98. Then we're going to do the same with quartile 3. So that's 75% of the way through the data, which will be at 150. And they've drawn a blue line there at 150, and we look at where that touches our cumulative frequency curve, read down, and we'll find that that is at approximately 218. Obviously, as I said, depending on your graph, your numbers will be slightly different, and that's okay. Part E, find an estimate for the 85th percentile. So we want to work out what 85% of our frequency is. So 200 multiplied by 0.85. And we know our 85% is at 170 people. So once again, from there we go to 170 on our graph. I'm going to draw in purple here, go across to our graph, read down to where we think it is, and you will get an answer for that. And my answer here is approximately 252 visitors. F, if you were told that the lowest number of visitors was 25 and the highest number was 370, draw a box and whisker plot. So here you will see I have my beautiful axes ready to go for my box and whisker plot. So we're being told that the lowest was 25 and the highest was 370. So I'm going to draw 25 a line and 370 was my maximum. So it'll be about there. Quartile 1 and quartile 3, the median I worked out in part D. So quartile 1 was at 98, so I'm going to draw a line at 98. Median is at 142. So it'll be somewhere about there. And the maximum was, the quartile 3 was at 218, which will be somewhere around there. And then we can draw all my lines to create the box plot. Now part G, determine if there are any outliers. So we're doing the outliers. What we need to do is first of all, do 1.5 times our interquartile range. So 1.5 multiplied our quartile 3, which I had as 218, minus quartile 1, which was 98, and that gives me a value of 180. We then take our quartile 3 and we add it to this number we just found. So we'll have 218 plus 180, which equals 398. So what that means is any number bigger than 398 would be classed as an outlier. Then for the low one, we do quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, which is 98 minus 180, which is negative 82. And any number lower than that would be classed as an outlier. We don't have anything in that situation because we're told our maximum is 370, therefore we are no outliers. And that is presentation of data.